today's press conference. Before we get started, before introduction, I'm going to let you know how this is going to go today. Today, we will have a press conference from a recording artist, Derek Anthony, that you see behind me, local of Keller, Texas, Nashville recording artist. He's going to come out, he's going to make an opening statement. After his opening statement, we will open up to the floor for questions. He will take questions as long as you have them. After that time is up, we'll give you the time of the end of the press conference, and you are free to begin your edit 3 hours per post that is due. Correct? You understand that? All right. Next thing is that while he's talking, you feel that you have enough information. I ask that you very politely and not get in the way up here, because there's about 1,000 recorders up here. Somehow sneak up, get your recorder, and you can go begin your project. That is open to anybody that chooses they have enough. I would probably stay around and see what happens, see what he has to say. So without waiting any longer, let's get this thing going. Let me introduce Derek Anthony, Nashville recording artist, country artist, songwriter. Mr. Anthony.
Was the color white today? Was that planned or what? Looks like I matched, so that's good. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Derek Anthony, as he said. I'm a resident of Keller, Texas. Basically, I'm here to share kind of my story and kind of some behind-the-scenes details in the music business, questions I'm sure you might have. I am a Keller resident. I've been in Texas for about 12 years. I'm married with two girls, 15 and 12, and we've been in Texas for about 12 years. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, so I'm a Midwestern boy through and through. Hard-working values, and love Texas. So basically what I'm here today is talk about a little bit about the music business, kind of what we're doing. I have a full band that's all here locally in Keller, and we played at Billy Bob's last month, which was awesome. We opened up for Pat Green. Any of those folks that follow country music, Pat Green's a huge following in Texas. We had about 4,500 people at Billy Bob's, and that was a total blast and probably the largest venue that we played at so far. As you see behind me, my website is derekanthony.net. I'm actually the owner and label maker of Blue Ant Music Group. Some of you that maybe follow music, there's been quite a bit of a change and a kind of really a business movement toward independence. And the reason for that is labels have consolidated and labels can't make any money. So the challenge is that if they sign like a Luke Bryan or Toby Keith or what have you, it's an advance. So if they say, hey, Derek, we're going to sign you to Sony Records and we're going to pay you $500,000, most models, that's an advance. So you still have to go out and work. You still have to go out and sell. You still have to go out and tour. And if you don't recoup that revenue of $500,000, you owe that money back to the label. So about 2 years ago, I started a company called Blue Ant Music Group with investors that I found that came into the company. And I have about 6 investors into the company. And it's a difficult business to make money at, but we are pursuant to hopefully continue to move forward in the right manner. Obviously, everybody knows the importance of social media. Everybody knows the importance of PR and press. So I'm doing all that myself as well as being the artist, so it's a difficult task, but it's fun, it's exciting, and I have obviously a lot of passion for music. One thing that I do is I love to write as well. So we're here to announce not only the Blue Ant Music Group label, which I have started, and also I'm going back to Nashville the end of March to record with a gentleman named Steve Mandel. Steve Mandel has worked with Tim McGraw, Ronnie Dunn, if anybody knows the country folks. They're pretty popular. He works with a lot of type A artists. And where I'm at today is what we're trying to do is what they call trying to break me. So we're trying to get into the larger radio stations. We're trying to get into the larger footprints. Exposure is the key right now. So we may lose money for 2 or 3 years, but we're trying to get more exposure to grow that fan base. It's all about the fan base. You see some folks even outside of country genres that are doing the independent deal. And what's happening is they're doing the same thing as I'm doing. Social media, growing the fan base, and starting their own label. And some of them have been successful, some of them have not. So the key to anything in life is to be persistent and do things that you love. And if you continue and you can survive and put food on the table, then hopefully you'll be happy. So music's been a passion of mine since I was 6 years old. I sang in my first talent show a song called Delta Dawn in elementary school at 6 years old, and I've been singing ever since. So with that, I guess I'll open it up to questions that you guys may have. I'm here. Yes, sir.
What's one of your main inspirations in every song you write?
I really go toward life experiences. I mean, if I'm not passionate about it, then I really can't sing about it. There's a lot of old, I guess, stereotypes of country music. You know, what do you get when you play a country music song? You get your mama back, you get your dog back, you get your truck back. So that's kind of old school. I'm more new country and more contemporary country. I've been compared to like a Brad Paisley, Dierks Bentley. I really don't sing there's a red dirt country type genre, which I really don't gravitate towards. So if you're passionate about it, life lessons, if it's emotion, if it's an experience that you maybe had a 3-minute premonition about something, but yeah, basically if it's touching you, then yeah, that's what you should be singing about. Yes, sir.
Who's influenced you vocally?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, I grew up on Bryan Adams and Kenny Rogers, Glenn Campbell. Vocally, you know, I listened to a lot of different genres when I grew up, even rap and a little bit of jazz. I played 6 instruments in high school. So vocally, there really wasn't a really one influence. It was kind of a more of a genre influence. Like I love to sing Billy Joel, I love to sing Bryan Adams, but at the same time I love to sing country, and I kind of gravitated to country because I sing it the best, but I do listen to all types of genres. Yes, ma'am.
So you are the owner of Blue Ant Music Group, correct?
Yes.
How was that created, and what do you guys do to benefit National Ovarian Cancer Coalition?
Good question. How was it founded, or what was the question?
Yes, how was it founded?
So Blue Ant Music Group basically was the name that I came up with to establish a label so we can really look and be more professional, not just Derek Anthony, the artist, and be in this bar band, so to speak. So I knew that I was partnered with Castle Records about 2 years ago, and Castle and I kind of broke off, and so I wanted to start my own deal so I can control my own destiny. So that's one. The National Ovarian Cancer Coalition is a nonprofit organization that's actually based here in Dallas. And these wristbands on my arm here, their color is teal, similar to breast cancer, which is pink. It really touches me because my wife's aunt, Karen Lawless, passed away from ovarian cancer about 6 years ago. And I felt that it was important to understand more about the foundation, more about the disease. And for you guys, I would urge you to go to ovarian.org website and learn more about it. And the reason that I wanted to give back is because ovarian cancer is one of the top leading cancers of female cancers out there. The problem with it is the education. So women usually are taking care of the husband and the family and putting food on the table, or even working these days, of course. And they don't have time for themselves. And the number one thing that this non-for-profit organization does is to create awareness of ovarian cancer. There is no cure. There is actually no test to find out if you have ovarian cancer. And usually it's too late. So what happens is it gets to stage 3 or stage 4. The women may have gained weight. They may be constipated. There's a lot of other side effects. But the goal for the organization is to create awareness, to be self-motivated as a woman to go out and actually have an exam once a year. So what we do is we basically are here to give back not only from a funding standpoint, but also venues like this that I can speak about it. During gigs, we give out bracelets. We also make announcements. I have some T-shirts. There's a song that I wrote called "Don't Mess with PMS," and no reflection on my girls, of course. Okay, but the downloads from that song go toward the foundation. So if you download it on iTunes, then the 99 cents or what have you goes back to the foundation. So it's very close to the vest to me. It's very important for me to be part of it. One thing that was really shocking to me, I go into the office to the NOCC, and the lady, Katrina, is looking at me like, you're the first man to ever walk into this building to actually offer yourself to help with this organization. I thought that was pretty earth-shattering to me. So it's been about a 1.5 year partnership so far. It's worked out great. They invited us to Vegas last year, so they have this huge national conference. So me and my producer, Randy Lee, who's also my lead guitar player in the band, him and I went out to Vegas, and we performed for about 200 people that are part of all the different chapters across the U.S. And it was a very emotional week. A lot of survivors were there. They talked about the cancer. They talked about the foundation. They talked about advancements within the medical community and so forth. So we're going to continue to be part of that. So going full circle this year, they have Run Walk. So we performed at the ballpark in Arlington last year in September. It was the middle of September. We performed right on home plate outside the ballpark. They had 3,000 racers. So again, I urge you to go to the website, learn more about it. But this year, in 2013, they've invited us to Des Moines, Iowa for their Run Walk. Obviously, the one in the ballpark here in Dallas in September, we're going to do as well. And then they've also invited us to Chicago's event, which has about 3,000 racers. And that's going to be at U.S. Cellular Field, where the Chicago White Sox play. So we're pretty pumped up for that as well. So they've helped me grow the exposure that I want, and I've helped them grow the exposure that they want as far as the education and what the foundation is all about. So it's been a win-win. Yes, ma'am.
When you face trials and tribulations in your career, like what's your drive? What keeps you motivated?
Good question. I would say just the sure, I guess I'll use the word sell, or the sure satisfaction of, one, writing and creating something that doesn't exist. So if it's in a writing format, writing a song, putting it on a track, and really coming alive. I mean, that's, to me, that's a huge motivation for me. And then when people accept it and you get validation, that's even better. I mean, anybody, it's human nature. We all want validation. We all want people to say, good job, we love your material, no matter what kind of work that you're in. But that's my key motivation. And then hopefully if those things work, then the back end, meaning the financial side and everything, can be taken care of, at least live healthy. And so, yeah, basically the writing and the final product would be a great motivator. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So how big is the exposure out in Nashville?
It's not big enough. Nashville is kind of unique. It's a good old boys network kind of thing, but even though it's a small city, it's a big city, if that makes sense. With the lady that I'm working with, her name is Melissa, and she is a ex-EMI record executive, 20 years in the business, and she has backed me and helped me find those connections within Nashville. It is a little bit difficult living in Dallas-Fort Worth and commuting to Nashville, so hopefully eventually maybe one day we can move over there, but it is key to know the right folks. And it is all about the money, unfortunately, with Nashville, because everybody wants to make a little bit off of you, which is fine, and that's normal business practice. So it's difficult, but we're growing that relationship. Steve Mandel, who I mentioned, he actually is behind the scenes on the show Nashville on ABC, and he is part of some of the bands, some of the extras, some of the music that's involved in Nashville. So he's a huge win for me to be in my camp. He's a super nice guy, super great producer. And then with Melissa and her contacts, so those two folks are really helping me kind of zone in on the networking in Nashville. Yes, sir.
Do you have any big concerts or events coming up?
Yeah, the concerts are posted on my website. We're trying to grow into the bigger venues. We did Billy Bob's, we did House of Blues last month in the Foundation Room. And what I'm looking for is the festivals. I'm looking for maybe potentially growing the footprint outside of Texas. Being from St. Louis, there's some festivals in Kansas City and Missouri that we're looking at for the summertime. But to answer your question, right now I would say that the NOCC functions that we're doing for the ovarian cancer, like the one in Chicago, is in May. That's a fairly large venue. Also, we're looking to partner with, I would just say, type A artists, more known artists that we could maybe open up for on the larger venues. Yes, ma'am.
What inspired you to write your latest single, Wanted Man?
Wanted Man was actually written by Randy Lee. Randy's my guitar player and band director, and he is an awesome writer, great musician. I'm more lyric and he's more music. Randy has some interesting takes on play on words and subjects of songs. Like he wrote a song called "Lay the Whiskey Down" that'll be on the new album, which I haven't talked about yet, but that's coming out in June. And then him and I wrote a song called "Give It To Me Straight," George Strait, and we've used some lyrics within George Strait's songs within my song and his song, and we've titled it "Give It To Me Straight," about a relationship that the guy and the girl's not being upfront with each other. But I guess I don't know the answer to that because Randy wrote it. So, yes, sir.
What messages do you try to portray and send to your audience with your music?
Well, it's kind of a full bucket of things. It just depends on the subject content. So if it's having fun in the country, or if it's a good love song. There's a song on the first album called "Undertow" that really struck me about being towed in from somebody that is tugging at your heart, so to speak. So it really is across the board. I like songs that have a play on words. There's a song that I'm working on called "Fast Food Society." I think we all live in this world that it's all about the now and about the present, and people don't really care what's going to happen in 2 years, but they care about what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes. But so it's a tough question to answer, but it's a full bucket of things. Yes, sir.
So do you release any of your exclusive songs on like social networks, like anything you just recently came out with?
"Eyes of a Woman" is a song that Steve Mandel had produced for me, and that was just released out on iTunes and social media. It's available on Spotify and Google Play and all the major music websites. That "Eyes of a Woman" was actually cut by Tim McGraw on his "Places in the Sun" album. And what happens, how the process works is Steve Mandel had forwarded me, say, 40 songs, and then I go through them all and filter them and say, hey, I really like this one. He didn't tell me the background of any of them. I said, hey, I want these 3 songs to start with, and then we'll work from that. Well, I picked "Eyes of a Woman." Then after the fact, he goes, yeah, Tim McGraw cut. I'm like, what? Okay, cool. So it was cool. So that one is a really, we're getting a lot of play on Django. Django's kind of like Pandora, or radioairplay.com. You can go on and listen to internet radio. So we're getting a lot of play on "Eyes of a Woman" on that song. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about your new album?
Yeah, sure. The old album, or the first album, was with Castle Records. The new album is going to be all Steve Mandel, and Steve Mandel is the producer. And the kind of way it works, you have writers, you have producers, and you have artists, and then you have the label. So the label's kind of the bank. So now that I have my own label, it's kind of all my doing. So I have control of what I want to sing, what I want to produce, what I want to market. So the producer, the writer, and the artist usually team up, and then you have this label if it's RCA or Sony. So the new album is going to be hopefully out in June. We have 3 songs done. We're going to go to Nashville end of March and do 4 more. So that'll make 7, and we're trying to get 10 to 11 tracks to make a full album. And then Randy Lee, who is here locally, is also a producer. And Randy's going to produce the 3 other songs that are left. And then we're going to have hopefully the new album out in June sometime.
So what are your plans for touring?
Touring is a difficult process because it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. It's like all the good booking agents are busy, or they want a retainer, and all the bad ones are bad because they're bad and they're not really good at what they do. So it's like upon me to go out and try to find these what they call talent buyers, and they go out and book all these acts. So for example, there's I follow a lot of music press, and there was a press release about a festival in Kansas. And it said Toby Keith's headlining it. I'm like, okay, Kansas is close to Missouri. Let's see. I'm always asking, and I get no, 90% of the time, but you got to ask. So I emailed the guy and, hey, I heard Luke Bryan's going to perform, Kevin Fowler, Toby Keith. I would love an opportunity to come in and maybe open up or be part of this festival in September. And he actually replied back. He goes, yeah, we're looking to book some additional artists. He was being nice, so more well-known artists. Then we'll consider some local people and you'd be one of them. So that would be huge if I could be part of that. So that's kind of how you break yourself, if you can get in front, even if it's for 20 minutes on stage, and Toby Keith's going to play, an hour after you. I mean, that's huge. So, and that doesn't really cost me anything except travel there. Maybe we'll get paid a little bit, and then all the exposure that we get out of that. So touring is difficult because if you don't chart, meaning if you don't make the top 100 charts on the radio, most touring guys won't want to book you because you're not popular. So there's this whole business side that most folks aren't aware that this is what goes on, and it's very difficult for any independent artist to make it or break it. And you hear stories that people are they went to number one by overnight, and it really doesn't happen that way. And I can't think of somebody in pop that you guys may recognize, but in country, there's a couple artists, 2 or 3 artists that have really gone on the map the last 6 months. Georgia Florida Line and Hunter Hayes and a few others, and they've worked their butt off to get there. And people just, once you break, and that's the key. If you can get broken and recognized, and people love your material, because there's so much good music out there, and there's better singers than me that made it, and there's worse singers than me. And it's just the whole package. So anyway, next question. Yes.
What was your inspiration for your latest single, Wanted Man?
Well, Randy wrote that, and I thought it was a catchy hook. I thought it was very commercial, meaning it's kind of more like a country rock feel. And we've actually submitted to consideration for some movies, some commercials. I was at the bookstore this weekend, and there was a book called The Wanted Man. And I took a picture, and I'm going to email the author. So if they ever make a movie, come on, let's go, So you got to think that way. I'm a marketing guy at heart, sales and marketing guy, so that's why I really love this passion of the music business. If we can make it work, it's just so much fun to do. Yes, sir.
So you recently said that you parted ways from Castle Records, because like what I've noticed nowadays how some artists have how they actually regretted signing to like a major label. How do you feel more relieved now that you start your own label, like that you're independent, that you expanded to the independent business?
Yes, I do. I feel really relieved because I control my own destiny. And actually, I talked to this lady, Melissa, that I mentioned. She has a couple other artists that she works with, and she's like, stay away from the labels because they demand too much. They'll tell you what to wear. They'll tell you what not to wear. They'll tell you what to sing. So I want to go out my way, and good, bad, or indifferent. When I'm 80 years old, I can look back and say I did it my way, and whatever happens, happens. Yes.
Do you feel that big labels will ever be a thing of the past?
Well, it's funny. Back in the 80s, you look at any industry, you look at airline industry, the telephone industry, you had 16 to 20 companies. Now you go full circle. They actually consolidated, then they spread apart, and then they consolidated again. So you look at airlines. There's 4 airlines. Telephone companies. There's 3 telephone companies. So labels, yes. I think you're going to have your monopoly. Your 1 or 2 or 3 labels will still survive. And unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. Even with radio, you have Cumulus and Clear Channel, and they kind of own about 80% of the market already. So it'll probably end up going that way. Yes.
You seem to be on the road a lot, trying to get your name out there. Do you ever get homesick? Do you ever feel away from your family?
It's not too bad. Right now, it's mostly in Texas, so we're not gone too much. But my daughters are very independent. My wife works full time, so it's really not an issue at this time.
We've got time for 3 more questions.
Hey, I know you.
3 more
What's
questions.
up?
What kinds of songs and styles should we expect to hear on your newest album?
Very contemporary country. There'll probably be less ballads, maybe 2 or 3 ballads, and the rest will be fast, up pace, more country rock, Jason Aldean kind of style. Yes.
Can you sing for us a little bit, please?
Maybe at the end. It's hard to sing without a guitar. How about back here? Yeah.
It says here that you have written #1 hits
you ever actually like met them or worked with them?
I have not written. Steve Mandel has worked with Tim McGraw and a few others. Actually, Steve Mandel wrote In a Little While for Tim McGraw, and that went #1. He got Songwriter of the Year. Yes?
What did you have to go through to get your name out there and become recognized?
Still working on it.
Just to get your start.
Well, you kind of push the social media because there's very little expense to that, and if you can grow your calendar and your gig calendar, then you can obviously grow your fan base from that. So mostly social media, internet, obviously Facebook, Twitter, etc. Yeah. Yes.
Last one.
How does your family play a role in your music career?
There's moments like they're probably not going to want me to reveal this, but my older daughter just got her first boyfriend. So as a dad, that's pretty tough. And there's a song in there somewhere. I haven't figured it out, but those types of life-changing experiences. I wrote a song about my older daughter, Bridges to Madison, because we weren't really sure if we were going to be able to have kids or not, and ended up we did, and everybody's healthy. But so anyway, it's just as you go through life, they have been a huge role in my inspiration to write certain songs.
All right, that wraps it up. Wait a second before you come up front, please. We'd like to thank you for coming today. Your official